Some people think staying in an Airbnb is safer than a hotel because it feels like home, private, quiet, and secure. But sometimes that's exactly what makes it dangerous. Because if something is already inside, no one's coming to help you. These are 3 true Airbnb horror stories. The Airbnb listing said the entire place was mine, but there was one room I wasn't allowed to open. I booked this Airbnb last minute. It was cheap. Too cheap, honestly. But I needed somewhere to stay for one night, so I didn't think too much about it. The listing said, entire apartment, private. There was only one odd detail. In the description, it mentioned one storage room will remain locked. I figured that was normal. Hosts leave personal stuff behind sometimes. When I arrived, everything looked fine. Small apartment, living room, kitchen, bathroom, 1 bedroom, and at the end of the hallway, a locked door. I tried the handle out of curiosity, but it didn't budge. I shrugged it off. The rest of the place was clean. Nothing felt off, at least not at first. That night, I was lying in bed scrolling on my phone. The apartment was completely silent. But then I heard a faint sound from the hallway. So I sat up, listening. It sounded like a soft movement, like something shifting. I told myself it was the building, pipes, walls, normal stuff. But then I heard it again, and it was closer this time. And I realized it wasn't coming from the hallway. It was coming from behind the locked door. I got out of bed slowly, walked into the hallway, just staring at the door. The handle didn't move. There were no lights under the door. Nothing. Just silence. I stood there for a few seconds, then went back to bed, trying to ignore it. At some point, I must have fallen asleep, but I was woken up again to a different sound. A click. I opened my eyes, and the bedroom door was slightly open. I was sure that I'd closed it. I sat up, heart pounding, and then I saw it. The hallway light was on, and that door, the locked one, was no longer fully closed. It was slightly open, just a crack. I stared at it, waiting, hoping nothing would move. And then I heard breathing. Slow, steady, from the other side. I didn't go closer. I didn't check. I grabbed my things and left. Didn't even pack properly. I just walked out of that apartment and didn't stop. Later, I checked the listing again. It had been taken down. No reviews, no host, nothing. The Airbnb had a keypad lock, and sometime during the night, the code changed. This happened when I stayed in an Airbnb in a city I'd never been to before. It was one of those modern apartments where you didn't get a key, just a code for the door. The host messaged me the code a few hours before I arrived. Everything went smoothly. I got in, unpacked, and ordered food. It felt safe, secure. The building had cameras. The door locked automatically. There was no way someone could just walk in. That's what I thought. I stayed up pretty late that night watching videos. Around 1 a.m, I went to bed. But sometime in the night, I woke up. Again, I don't know why, but something felt off. The apartment was silent. But then I heard it. A soft sound, like a beep. I froze, because I knew exactly what that sound was. The keypad. Someone was trying to unlock it. I sat up, staring toward the hallway. Then click. The handle moved. But the door didn't open. I didn't move. I didn't make a sound. I just sat there, holding my breath. A few seconds passed, and then I heard footsteps outside, walking away. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. As soon as it was morning, I checked the door, but it was still locked. Everything looked normal. I told myself maybe it was someone at the wrong apartment, until I checked my phone. I had a message from the host, sent at 3:12 a.m. It said, "Hi, just letting you know the door code has been updated for security reasons." My stomach dropped, because I hadn't requested that, and I hadn't been told beforehand. I checked the new code, walked to the door, and tried it. It worked. Then, just to be sure, I tried the old one, and it didn't. Which meant whoever was at the door last night had the correct code. I locked every door in the Airbnb before going to bed, but when I woke up, one of them was open. I booked this place for a weekend away on my own. It was a small house just outside a town. Nothing fancy, but it looked clean and quiet. The host had great reviews. Everything seemed normal. When I arrived, I did what I always do. I checked every room. Living room, kitchen and bathroom, all empty. Then I checked the bedrooms. There were two. One I was staying in, and the other one at the end of the hallway. The door was closed. I opened it. Inside was just a bed, a wardrobe, and a small window. Nothing unusual. I remember thinking it was weird how cold that room felt compared to the rest of the house. But I didn't think much of it. I closed the door and went back to the main bedroom. That night, before going to sleep, I made sure everything was locked. Front door, back door, and the windows all shut. I even checked that second bedroom door again. Still closed. I went to bed around midnight. Everything was quiet. Too quiet, actually. The kind of silence where you start noticing every little sound. At some point, I must have fallen asleep, but I woke up suddenly. No idea what time it was. The house was completely still. And then I noticed something. The hallway light was on. I was sure I'd turned it off before going to bed. I sat up slowly, listening, but there was nothing. No movement, no sound, just that light shining under my bedroom door. I got out of bed and opened the door slightly. The hallway was empty. But at the end of it, that second bedroom door was open. Wide open. I froze because I knew I'd closed it. I stood there for a few seconds, just staring, trying to convince myself I'd forgotten. But I hadn't. I walked slowly toward it. Each step felt heavier than the last. When I reached the doorway, I looked inside. The room was empty, exactly how I'd left it. I even checked the wardrobe, but there was nothing. I let out a breath and turned around, and that's when I saw it. The back door at the end of the hallway, slightly open. Just enough for the cold air to come through. I felt my stomach drop because I'd locked it. I walked over and pushed it shut, locked it again, and that's when I noticed something I hadn't seen before. The lock was already turned. From the inside. Most people think that danger is outside. But sometimes the worst place you can be is somewhere that feels like home when it isn't.